Hey guys, Stefan Fleet here. So I have some quick tips for the Adobe CC 2017 April update for Premiere and After Effects. If you're like me, you don't read any of the documentation that comes out from Adobe. You just update stuff randomly, and then things crash and don't work, and things change for no reason, and you get frustrated and have to figure it out. And that happened to me this time, although I do have to say that a lot of their updates are like really cool. I will also just jump in and say that I'm editing a lot of 4K. My computer's a couple years old. It's probably due for an update, but I'm working off a RAID. I've got a pretty beefy video card, and I have noticed Adobe Premiere crashing a lot. So if you're like working on a project, or you're in the middle of something big, or your system's stable, you might want to hold off a bit, because I have a feeling there's some stuff that Adobe is going to need to sort out in a couple hot fixes in the near future. So I was looking for the rate stretch tool and I couldn't find it, and I was like, what's going on? There's a lot less buttons here. I didn't even notice Premiere had changed at that point. But I love the rate stretch tool. It allows you to grab a corner here of a piece of footage and speed it up or slow it down. Very quick and easy to do, instead of numerically typing in numbers. And so I looked around, I panicked, I went on the internet, and I was like, oh my god, where's the rate stretch tool? And it turns out if you just highlight over the ripple edit tool, it's right down here. And they've kept the same hotkeys for it, so now I can speed up my piece of footage, play it faster. If I zoom in, you can see that it's at 218%. So fear not, they have not gotten rid of the rate stretch tool. They've just cleaned up this toolbar a little bit, which leads me to my second thing. So I was going and making titles for my latest vlog, and I hate making titles in Premiere. It's like my least favorite thing to do, because you have to go up to the title tool, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what? Wait, there's no title tool. There's this new window called graphics, and is a title tool in there? No, it's some weird stuff. I don't know what any of this is. So I was like, again, panicking. I'm like, where's the title tool? Well, it turns out that there's a T right here, and I'm like, oh my god, they didn't. They couldn't have. They finally made it so that I could click right on footage and type, hi there. No way. So this was amazing to me. What it does is it creates this new sort of graphic layer here, but it doesn't clutter your library with all these like title things that you have to toss somewhere. You don't have to open up this window. This is like so much better. And yeah, when you have the text here, you get this whole palette in the Essential Graphics palette. It's a new window. You can go to Window, Essential Graphics, and open it up. And I have it over here on the right side. Like any Adobe product, you can put it wherever you want to. It has all the usual stuff here. Kind of cool. It has these buttons here to just center the text right away. And then you can move it here sort of manually. You can go and change your font. One thing I don't like on a PC, and it's probably off the screen for you guys here, but it's not like I can't type in the font that I want. I have to go through the long list of fonts, which is a pain in the bootay. But anyway, you can do all that stuff. Fill, stroke. You can make styles if you're into that kind of thing, whatever, yada, yada, yada. You can turn it on and off with the eyeball here. You can hit this little new icon here, and within the same stick of footage right here, you can make a new text layer or a box or an ellipse. Like, let's say I wanted to make a rectangle, and just like Photoshop, I can drag the order, and I can grab this rectangle. I want it to be black, let's say, and I'm just going to grab this rectangle. Make sure not to use the text tool. Switch back to your regular move tool here, but I'm going to grab this rectangle and put it underneath my text. So there you go. So that's a very quick and easy way to make some text with a black box behind it. And again, I can edit it. I can edit the text. I can edit the shape. I could rename them if I wanted to. Also, just to let you guys know, if you go into the effects controls, you get all that same information in here. It's basically like it's adding effects onto I guess some form of constant or solid or invisible layer that you can deal with. And what's great is that since it's not adding it to the footage itself, you could change the size, you could fade it in and out, you can add effects to it, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. So I think this is great. I love it. I love it. I think there's a way, I haven't really messed around with the text tool yet, but I think there's a way to even sort of save this as a preset in the Essential Graphics folder. See, if I click Browse here and go to Essential Graphics, they've got all these like templates and stuff now. So just to show you, for example, again with Essential Graphics open, and this would be, I guess, the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is templating, which is huge. I could bring in one of their stock things like this social media like thing. I have no idea what this is. I'm going to drag it in. It's going to take a little bit of time to think. It takes a little bit longer than I like, to be honest. I'm not sure why. And then if it's an Adobe thing and they have a font in it, they're going to say sync your font with Typekit, hit OK. It gives you some warning. I ignore it. So I don't even know. Oh, look, there's some like really ugly like thing that flies in. But I think I could hopefully go into edit and I could change text. Yeah, so I could change. This is like a template. Like this is basically they pre-made all this stuff right here in Adobe. So I could go in and I could change the word like to don't like. There you go. So I gotta say though, this is probably like the ugliest template I've ever seen. You know, I'm probably not going to use any of Adobe's stock templates, which leads me to the next coolest thing. They have finally made a way, and it's a decent way, it's not perfect yet, but it's a decent way to make a motion graphics template in After Effects that you can reuse in Premiere and change the text and colors and stuff in Premiere. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to Alt-Tab here over to Adobe After Effects, and I've already made this kind of little janky text template right here. It's 2 lines and a piece of text, right? And I have it coming in and going out over 3 seconds. I feel like I could use this to put up my name or like a location or something like that. And I did 3 simple layers, and we're going to ignore this adjustment layer for right now. So let's say I wanted to take this and make this a template for Premiere. So I've already, I guess spoilers, I've already got this Essential Graphics thing up. But if this wasn't up, let's just say this thing was off, and this is sort of what my Premiere or my After Effects usually looks like. I would highlight the composition that I want to use, and I would right click on it and I would go open Essential Graphics, and it opens the window that was just closed. And I've already given it a name, but let's give it a new name just for sake. Let's call it title lower left number 1. I can't use the number sign actually. And then the master is just saying, what do you want your master composition to be? In this case, I only have one composition, lower left text, so I want it to pull everything from that composition and use it. Let's skip solo supported properties for right now. Let's go to set poster frame. I don't want my poster frame to be on black. I want it to be here. I'm going to hit set poster frame, and now you can see I have an icon for this that is going to look like a representation of what it is. It's going to be easier to find, etc. Okay, so let's go back to this solo supported properties, and let me just hit it, and that will help explain what's going on. So I'm going to hit it, and it's going to open up a bunch of stuff down here in my timeline. And what this is saying is you can actually drag this stuff up into this open square here. So for example, in my text here, I'm going to take source text, I'm going to drag it into this window, and you can see that it actually gives me this option, source text, and my text here. What this means is these are the functions. This is what you're going to let Premiere use. Premiere's not going to be able to affect every single property like you can in After Effects. You're going to have to pluck out the few things that you want Premiere to use, which is great because it's simplifying the process greatly. The downside to this is I have noticed that some things don't work. And one of the weird things that doesn't work is that with text, you can't actually change the text color using this method. So what I did is I applied a tint to my text, which is an effects. You just go to effects over here, type in tint, and I applied that tint. I'm going to take map white to, since my text is white. I'm going to drag it in here, and I'm going to say text color. There you go. So at its basic right now, I could change the text color, and I could change the actual text itself. Now I want to, in addition to my text color, and my text changing my text, I also want to be able to change the top and the bottom colors of these bars here, right? So don't grab the stroke, make sure you grab the fill. So I want the fill color, and I'm going to call that top color. And I'm going to go to the next one down, and I'm going to take the fill, and I'm going to call it bottom color. And I'm just going to test these just to make sure that they work. Yep, undo. Yep, undo. Yep, undo. So those all work. All right, so that's it. I'm going to hit Export Motion Graphics Template. It's going to ask me to save. I'm going to say sure. You get a couple options here. Essential Graphics is kind of like a default folder on your local computer where all your stuff is. You can save it to libraries that you've created and shared with people, or you can just save it as a file on your local drive if you really want to have possession of it, put it on a thumb drive or something like that. I'm just going to save this in Essential Graphics. I'm going to hit OK. The file already exists because I've already saved this one, so I'm just going to overwrite the one that I saved before. And that's it. Now I'm going to go back into Adobe Premiere. I'm in the Essential Graphics palette, again, Windows, Essential Graphics, and I'm going to go from Edit, I'm going to go over to Browse. And you have two options here. You can go to List View, which I prefer, or you could go to Thumbnail View. And I've got a couple that I've made already here, but let's find the one, Title Lower Left one. That's the one that I just created. So I am going to drag it here. It takes a little bit to think. One of my biggest pet peeves so far is that it drags in an audio stick, and I haven't figured out a way to turn that off. It makes sense if you have audio in your After Effects thing, like there's a swoosh in or a swoosh out, but if you don't have audio, I wish there was a way to turn this off. For now, I'm just going to delete it, get rid of it. I'm going to hit play, and you can see there's my template. And what's great is now if I click on it, it takes me automatically to Essential Graphics Edit, and there's my 3 settings, or sorry, there's my 4 settings, because my text here is a setting 2, and I can say drone footage. And you can see that now it says drone footage instead of whatever, or drone shot, because it's too long. I don't like the look of it. Shot. Or I could just say Culver City, because that's where I shot this. And then if I wanted to change the text colors, I could go here. I could change this, and this, and this, and I've got red. It's ugly, but it's functional. All right, so that's how you do that. Now let me show you guys something even cooler. So I was like, I'm never going to make the bar colors and the text colors different. So what am I going to do? Well, what I did first off is I got rid of all this stuff here. I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. I added an adjustment layer to the top of my composition. I'm going to turn it on. I had it turned off before. And I added the one effect, which is tint. And then I actually, just for fun, added a drop shadow too. Now you can't see the drop shadow because it's black on black, but if I hit this little button here, you can see that there is a drop shadow there. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the map white 2 from my adjustment layer right here, and again I'm just going to hit solo because I'm lazy, and it's going to open up everything that I can use down here. So I'm going to take map white 2 from my adjustment layer, and I'm just going to call this color. And then I'm going to take a bunch of stuff from drop shadow. Actually, I want the shadow color, I want the shadow opacity, I would like the shadow distance, and I would like the shadow softness. And just to be really clear, I'm going to write the word shadow here for all of these. So what's really cool is this edit range thing. So if I click on this, right now my default distance is 20. I'm going to change it to 5. I had it at 5 before, changed it to 20, changing it back. But I can also say, like, okay, I don't ever want them to be able to go up to 120. I want them to only be able to go up to 20. So I'm going to hit that, and boom. So now this slider is only a range of 5 to 20. And then my softness, I'll leave at 0, it's fine. And my opacity, I'll leave at 50%. And then I was like, wait a second, what about like the shadow direction? Where's that? So I couldn't find it here. So I did this just to open and close it, and I found it. And I'm like, aha, direction. And I tried to drag it in, and for whatever reason, this is not supported at this time by this template. So that is something you will run into with this, which is that not everything is supported yet, but hey, it's still pretty good. So I couldn't do direction, but I got all this stuff in here. It's named properly. It looks good. I'm going to say export motion graphics template. It's going to save my project. I'm just going to write over what I made before, hit OK. And you know, in the process of making these things, I have a feeling you're going to be doing this a bunch, like writing over it. You're going to be like, oh, the text kerning's wrong. Oh, this, that, whatever. So, you know, it's going to be a process. I'm going to go back to Browse in the Essential Graphics palette. I'm going to go to Title Lower Left 1, drag it down here. It's going to think for a second. Here's my title. Looks the same as last time, except for that little drop shadow. Let's click on it. Let's change the text to Culver City. Let's change the overall color in one click to something else, maybe like a light blue. See, now I didn't have to do the top, bottom, and whatever. So the nice thing is it looks like the adjustment layers only affect the composition. They don't like stack and also affect the Premiere footage. So that's kind of a really handy tip to know about adjustment layers in this method. I think their adjustment layers are going to end up being like really handy using this process. Let's talk about the shadow for a second. So my shadow color black, I'm going to leave. I would like to see it a little bit more. I'd like it to be a little further away and a little bit softer. Look at that, see? I don't know if you can see it on your computer, so let me just zoom into 100%, slide over here. See that? Nice and interactive shadowing. So I think this is pretty great. Let me go back to fit. Let me hit play. Boom. There you go. So I found this adjustment layer thing to be huge. Let me show you guys one more thing that you can do. If you don't want to do the adjustment layer thing, I'm going to turn off. I'm actually just delete this adjustment layer so it's not confusing. I am going to take all of this text here and I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to pre-comp it, right click, pre-compose, and I'm going to say guts or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to move all the attributes into it. I'm going to hit OK. Now I have two compositions. I've got guts and I've got lower left text. As long as my master is still lower left text, this one is going, the lower left text composition is what's going to send to Premiere, and it is going to respect all of the pre-composing, which means I could still go into guts. I could go to my text here. I can take text and I can take source text and drag it in. It works. It'll actually take the information from composition. So if you wanted to make a really complicated motion graphics piece and have a bunch of layers and stuff and do a lot of pre-composing and stuff, you can do that as long as you're organized and you use the right composition for the master composition here in the Essential Graphics palette. Just to show you guys now, I could actually go into my lower left text, and here's my pre-composed guts. Just like using an adjustment layer, I could come here, I could apply, say, like the tint to this guy, drag the map, hit the solo support. For some reason you can't drag from here. It's another pet peeve. I wish I could just drag from here to here. I have to come down here, grab map white 2, put it here. I'm going to call it color. And just like before, this is going to work. If I hit export, save, let's go ahead and save over the one I did before. Let's alternate tab back to Adobe Premiere. And I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to go back to browse. I'm going to take my title lower left. Now I got rid of all my, I didn't put in all my drop shadowing stuff, so when I click on it, I only have the text, hi there, and I only have the color. But as you can see, it works. So pre-composing and adjustment layers, huge, huge, huge for this. I think this is great. I could go and make all of my titles for my vlog. I can make titles for my wife's vlog. If you're working you know, in a collaborative environment, you can make these and share them with each other, and thank God the title tool is gone. They've also added some new stuff. They added a whole audio palette, but I'll save that for another time. I haven't explored with it too much. So yeah, I hope this rather lengthy quick tips tutorial has been helpful, and give me a shout out if you have any questions. Give me a follow if you like what I'm doing between the vlogging and the tutorial stuff, and see you guys on the flip side.